you feel a moment where it's like, oh shit, it's happening. And you see it, and the people are, giving you so much love and support. And then your family is kind of like, okay, everything that he was chasing and said he wanted to do, he's doing it. It's happening. We're here, we're supporting, and it's, family's crying. Everybody's just happy to see that you finally are doing what you set out to do. I saw
I'd be mad at my family.
That is a Rory
fucking
thing.
10 years of like, what is he doing over there? And
I fucking told you, Mom.
Now they love it.
Now they rave about you at work, right?
No, Rory and Mom.
All right, welcome to a new episode of the New Rory and Mal podcast. I am Mal.
I'm Eden.
And we are back for a new pod.
Going nuts.
With a really good friend of ours.
It's fucking
very
lit.
Talented, very articulate gentleman.
Articulate. Don't say his full name, though, because he's still, trying to hide his identity.
No, Azad.
He's A.
A?
Hi, guys.
A Boogie.
Just bleep that.
A Boogie with the hoodie. We are with our friend, our guy, talented, super cool, suave gentleman, Azad.
Anyone that wears a bubble coat on the couch of a friend's house is pretty suave.
Listen, man, because he's so cool. You know what I mean? You got to keep the puff on, man. You know what it is. Freezing.
It's good climate control in here. I'm offended.
It's freezing
It's a beautifully climate controlled place.
I really appreciate
the lighting's great. You have sunglasses on, a hat.
Listen, man,
what's up?
It's not covering your ears.
What's going on?
It's my first time in New York in 2 years.
Really?
Hey.
Wow.
Yeah, since we had our Webster show back in fall of 21, which actually is a year, but the pandemic makes it feel like two. My shirt is thrashed, so I'm wearing a jacket.
It has been a while. How do you feel being back here?
What's the energy like? You feel like the energy in the city is totally different?
Last time I was here, I was in a wonderful relationship.
Okay.
I haven't been single in New York in like half a decade.
That sounds like a great record. Single in New York. That should be the name of your next record.
Oh man.
Single.
There was a whole show. It's called Sex in the City.
But
we've seen the series.
Control y'all are. No, it feels good to be back in New York. The energy is great. We have our project coming out on Friday.
Yep.
First time being independent, and just grateful.
First time being independent. First time being single.
It's a lot of firsts.
Do you feel like Volume 3 is more personal? Because I know you've written things from other people's perspectives, and you're that type of writer that you don't necessarily have to be going through it to write a song about it. Do you feel like this is the first project that's fully emotionally about your personal experience?
Me and Val were talking about that, where this one is definitely a bit more of my, personal story.
Yeah.
Whereas on Volume 1 and Volume 2, she was with my best friend that I grew up with, and I was just kind of witnessing what was happening and able to have just like this bird's eye perspective as to what was going on. And that kind of drove a lot of the creativity. Whereas now, yeah, definitely. I mean, I wrote like 9 records in 7 days in Greece, and was just able to experiment with a whole bunch of different sounds that I feel like I haven't in the past. And the short answer is yes. Obviously, she helped me through every single kind of record, and she helped, elevate it and take it there. But it's definitely the most personal of the 4 mixtapes.
No, it got reversed. Now she had to channel your ex.
She said that.
Speak for her.
Bro, she said that when she was singing this hook, when we were writing it, she was like, damn, I really got to take it there because I know this feeling of like, if you scroll down, you can see these lyrics like, I'm so broken, let me go. It's up a little bit.
My walls painted up with Novocaine. Look around. I don't feel a thing here. Oof. Yeah, you talking that talk. I like that type of shit, Azad. I can't hide that I'm in denial. Every convo overcompensate. Selling dreams, no, that ain't my style.
Hey, there needs to be a series where it's just Maul reciting my lyrics, and that is we
could do an audiobook of just Maul reading the entire Volume 3.
I recognize like just a cool way of saying, yo, listen, I know I fucked up, but what do you want me to? This is the life I'm in. This is, the life chose me. I didn't choose this life. You know what I mean?
That's straight cap.
Yeah. I mean,
no wonder he was garbage.
You gotta tell a girl sometimes, like, listen, I didn't choose this life. You know what I mean? Like, they just woke up and one day they were just outside screaming my name.
He was outside.
Yeah, what do you want me to do? You know what I mean? I still love you though.
I will say this: this is not one of those situations where like fools didn't get, girls back in high school and then all of a sudden caught a little break. Because that to me is just like the epitome of I don't really respect or jive with those kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it happen a lot, especially in my city. Like fools will, just catch a check and then they'll start acting hella different.
No, that's corny.
I'm not into that.
Yeah,
and
that's
that's why I said this has very little to do with her and everything to do with me and just, all the shit that I carpeted for all those years. Getting to the bottom of it. So
After that. Where do I want to go with this? We'll get away from your personal life for a
too
second.
much.
I know, that's why I'm trying to be very careful because I do respect the personal boundaries. So, all right, I'll pivot a little bit here. Outside of being newly single, newly independent, and as someone that's been in this business for 13 years?
12 years
12
since I
years?
was 21. Yeah.
Been through the major label system, now with the independent system. What's been the difference? We have a lot of creatives that are our listeners' audience, as well as a lot of musicians, a lot of people that are trying to break into the music industry, don't fully understand it, know that, all right, if I catch a major label lick, I'll get an advance and feel like I've made it. 10 years later, feel like shit. What's been this process? Because you've been on both sides of it.
Look, I want to say it's not like one size fits all. And I really do give a big shout out to especially our partners in the past. Like when we had They and Gallant going through Warner in 2015. And then obviously when we did our shit with Darkest and Latrice and Island in 2019, there was a time and a place and they all did a great job. But there comes a time where the cost of doing business just isn't worth it anymore. And when you got someone that's in their 50s or 60s that doesn't speak the language of what you're working on, communicating your music or your art to these platforms, from that perspective, it doesn't make sense. And same goes for, when you talk about like A&Ring or marketing, it's like, well, if you don't live this and you're just like kind of ticking a box, I don't need 19 cooks in the kitchen. I'm writing, producing, mixing all this shit with our internal team. And I actually enjoy that. It's not like a chore. It's like a lot of people are like, oh, well, I got to get in and do these sessions and then I got to go and find a mixer. But these are all experiences and shit that I really learned from. And then when you bust it down to the business of it, and I think this is where there's, to me, a really high level of confusion. And for simple math, if you sign for $1 million and you get a great deal with these majors, you do an 80-20, an 80-20 royalty deal, out the gate, you're in for $5 million. And some people don't understand, well, how did you get that number? It's like, well, for every dollar that they gave you, you got to recoup 5X because 20 times 5 is 100. So same goes where they give you tour support. Now all of a sudden, that $100,000 tour support to go on tour, that's $500,000 you're in the hole. And for the 49 artists on that dartboard, or let's say there's like a major label and they throw 50 darts at a board, that one artist is going to pay for the 49 mistakes. But if you're in that 49 and you're not careful, you may get to a place where not only like you lose your passion or you lose your love for it, but you also just get disillusioned to the business. And it's not the artist's fault. It's not the major's fault because the people that are at the majors running it have no control. It's an archaic business model built by really old people that are out of touch. And the new business model isn't educated or there isn't a healthy form of educating the new business model because there's not enough people winning in that regard. And the ones that are catch a big generational bag, whether it's 20, 30, 40 million to go and do a deal after they've been independent. And they don't talk about how they built that. So, by the way, it's not cheap. Up until 5 days ago, I was like shaking in my boots trying to figure out how we're going to fund this tour, how I can keep trying to make like orange textured vinyl and these candles and all the fly shit that we want to make, but at the same time, make sure the music gets heard. Like it costs $250,000 to take a record to radio. If you did that with the major, out the gates, you be in for whatever that is, 1.25.
Right.
So you got to pick your spots a little different. And sure, being on a 90-10 profit split where you own, that's awesome. But how are you incentivizing your partners? My best friend is my art director, my creative partner. He has equity on shit that we work on. If I was trying to give like a 0 to 1 plan for an artist. If you're just like somebody in a studio making music and you're trying to build your team, find partners.
Right.
This is what I didn't learn when I was, failing and 23 years old. It took me that 9-10 years because I didn't understand how do you align your interests with these people. Well, you got to treat them like fair partners.
Mm-hmm.
Our management partner, Britt, she has equity. She's effectively like the CEO of Emotional Oranges. Rory is obviously doing a lot of the help A&R and marketing and branding, but somebody needs to run the business.
Yeah.
Rory has, 3 full-ass jobs. I got 3 full-ass jobs. Well, who's going to run it?
Mm-hmm.
Brittany's incredible, so... But there's also those horror stories then when you look at it and it's like, well, I managed such and such. They got to X level line on Coachella and they fired me. A couple of my close friends did this to their managers. There's no equity in that. So just like trying to reimagine, like, how are you building your business to get to a place where maybe in the beginning it makes sense to take that funding from a major and do a lopsided deal.
Right.
But when you get out of that shit, restructuring and making sure that everyone involved feels like don't just say partners. Because if you're paying them, if they're catching a wage on a 1st and a 15th, they're not a partner.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was like hella passionate leaving the major, is because I understood, I got the information that I needed and was able to apply it in real time. Sorry for the rant.
No, that was dope. That was very necessary to hear that.
And it's interesting because I do love that independent and talking about independence has become so trendy. And I don't mean that in a bad way. What type of artists do you think makes sense on a major as far as what their business model would be or the type of music that they're trying to make or the audience they're trying to get to would make sense on a major versus someone that would make sense independently? Because obviously with EO, everything for the most part is in-house. Like what the fuck does a major, outside of funding, what's the point of a major?
I had to be really, really honest and check my ego at the door and be a little like brutally self-aware. Maybe the shit that we're making, at the time we did the deal, I was 29. Maybe I'm a little too old to pop off commercially and be able to look myself in the mirror and go, well, shit, I could still build an arena touring fan base. And, my favorite artists, when I bust it down to like, Janet, Gorillaz, and Sade, if that's like my North Star shit, then, I mean, Gorillaz just caught their second lick this year with all the TikTok shit happening.
Yeah.
I saw Damon Albarn perform at the Forum, 10,000 tickets at 54 years old. It felt like he was 34 and he's making 8 figures a year quietly. And he can go to the grocery store and still cop shit and go back.
Right.
So for me, it was really hard to not be like, I want to grow up and be like the people that I saw on, BET and MTV. And it's all good if I create this really ill cult base with my family, essentially at this point. Like, y'all are fucking like my brothers and sisters and shit. Like, I prefer that. I'm cool with that. But that was really, really challenging, to be honest, because you have to kind of like let one dream die in order for another one to kind of be born, if that makes sense.
But do you feel like it's a necessary thing? Like you have to go through the having the deal to learn the business, and then you say, okay, I would rather do this independently and give my friends and the people around me ownership and build this thing together. Like a lot of people come in now, they say they want to be independent. They want to be independent out the gate. Do you think that's a good thing? Or do you think it's sometimes necessary to, go through the label thing and learn that part of it, but then eventually get to a place where you own everything?
I completely agree. And also you can just do more healthy deals now. It's like almost like the status quo to do licensing deals with these majors. But even then, make sure you understand the business. Because sometimes it's better to have them take more of the pie so they can bring to life your vision. I'll keep it super G with you. I have no interest in waking up at 6 a.m. and getting on a phone call with a radio plugger in Singapore, bro.
Right.
My talents are much better utilized in the studio here with y'all, like, trying to think of some creative merch shit. I have no interest in talking to like old boy in Madrid trying to get my shit on the radio. I don't even know I don't speak Spanish like that. So why would I? So understanding, well, wait a second. If I do this deal with such and such major, and if you really have the leverage to do that and your song is already working in said places, that's where they can come in and amplify at a real level. But if you're naive, and you got to remember, I thought about not saying this shit and I feel like I need to because we're at this place. right now, the way that the music industry is built for everyone involved, not just the major labels, it's incentivizing the short-term bag. So the business manager is catching 5%, the lawyer is catching 5%, the manager is catching 20%. All this is upfront of whatever you sign on the front end, but they're not incentivized in the long run. So if some shit happens to you, God forbid, they might not even finish the agreements for your album. If you do some foul shit, they already made their money. But if they were partners and it was in the long term of your product, I promise you, your business manager, your manager, and your lawyer would want to own those rights for the long term if they saw a future with you.
Right.
So bringing those people into the fold out the gate and making sure y'all see eye to eye, all that shit is like a relationship. And we have to level the playing field financially and from an incentivizing perspective for everyone involved. That's where I think this shit is fucked up. It's not because the majors are doing bad deals. If y'all had a good team, y'all wouldn't even be talking to the majors to begin with. Unless you had bro, if we catch a viral TikTok moment right now, you think Rory wants to wake his ass up at 5 a.m. and talk to Singapore? No. They want to, and if Tunji wants to give us 10 million, he's like, yo, you guys started something. You built a great base. It's super cute. We're going to go and make this thing a hit. We could just do one project together. Y'all got you could send us the art, the songs, the na. But yeah, but we're in our early 30s now. We've seen the fuck shit. We're doing 3,800 tickets in LA at the Palladium. We're doing Brooklyn Steels. We're doing History in Toronto. But that's because it's been 3.5 years of rigorous touring.
Right.
So if you haven't done that and you're like on TikTok and you catch your moment, some people it's food and beverage. And that's fine. If it's food and beverage and you can be honest with yourself and everybody involved,
cool.
Catch your bag.
Right.
But if you're in this because you want to make great art and you want to create something that lasts, that's a different conversation. That's a whole different trajectory. And as long as the people on your side, can disseminate the two, then you're good money.
But I mean, that's speaking from a deserved leverage standpoint. Because yeah, Tunji could say, "I'll give you 10 mil because you've done this before." But a TikTok's not going to give you leverage with a major, and for the most part, not really matter in the long run if your TikTok viral moment isn't based off publishing you own to begin with. So I see what you're saying. With most artists, don't go in with that leverage at all. Do you think there is a world where walking in and taking the bullshit deal is worth it? Because you can start to build with some capital, some leverage for the next 3 projects.
So right now, if you go to Bank of America and you have a credit score between 650 and 800, you can get a bank loan of $100,000 for, on average, about 8%. So if I did the math for you right now on a $100,000 deal, which I just did on an 80-20, on that 80-20, you owe back $500,000. If you go to Bank of America, you owe back $108,000 while it scales up.
You're not the first person that I've heard talk about this bank loan shit. It's very difficult, especially an artist that's usually 18, 19, 20 years old, to be able to walk into a bank and be like, yo, my mixtape, bro. It's very difficult to do that. That's why I don't blame a lot of these kids for signing bullshit deals, because they just don't know.
No, I don't blame the kids at all. I blame the lack of information and the people involved. If y'all got a 50-year-old lawyer who said he's done X amount of deals and he's encouraging you to do such... Ask him if he's listening to your music. Tell him the name's track 7 on your tape, bro.
Yeah. or ask him how long he's been working for the label that he's negotiating with.
Right. And then they build their deals in for 35 to 50. By the way, I'm not here to shit on lawyers, but I'm saying, once again, if y'all are incentivized in the long run of my career, you wouldn't want me to do that. If I told you on STEM, I'm giving you 5% in perpetuity of X record, you would fight for dear life to make sure that we own that. So then act the same way when it's time. Like, that's just the way that I look at it.
I want to know how much.
Azad. I like it.
We had a conversation years ago. How much trouble do you think the record industry would be in if artists like Drake, Rihanna, and Adele went independent?
Why don't we just talk about Brent Faiyaz for a second?
Okay.
I was looking at some weirdo stat on some R&B blog page, and it said that Brent's gonna have the highest grossing album of the year in R&B in the U.S.
In the U.S., okay.
So let's say we're seeing on average between Spotify and Apple $4,000 per million streams, and he just posted his little joint. He did $1 billion on Spotify. Would you, if you're someone like Brent Faiyaz, do the opposite? Would you go to the major? And these are questions that I asked myself, seeing this Bad Bunny shit saying he's getting 40 million per album and he's on a 90-10 with the Orchard, which, by the way, bro, if y'all are signed to an independent that goes through one of the 3 majors, you are not independent. Your music, from a catalog perspective, from a market share perspective, is owned by Sony. So, but by the way, you're doing stadiums. He's my favorite, just like creative right now in the space.
Brent?
No, a Bad Bunny. But
he's
from the music side, yeah, Brent for sure. And yeah, I mean, look at the shit that he's pulling up. You can see it. He did what, 95,000 first week? That shit is fucking astronomical, bro. Like Brent doing those numbers, the infrastructure Ty and Jane built, that STEM helped build, that's something that I strive for. How do I feel if Drake and Adele and such went independent? The short answer is they could probably write their own deal at this point. They probably all already have, and it behooves them not to do that because that's actually the button getting pressed. When your song goes out and your name is Drake and you've had 101 top 10s, you think Future or Oliver want to get on the phone with Madrid and try to work this shit in Spain? No, bro. Here's a 92.8 for 250 million. Whatever Universal label wants to do it, run it up.
But that's a leverage thing too, because Drake, Adele, and them are going to get a deal at a major that no one else can get because the major's going to want to make sure they keep them there. Because, like Maul is saying, imagine if they went independent, it would fuck up the entire ecosystem. So they're going to give Drake a deal that no other person could get on a major. But to your Brent point, outside of the money he's making, let's talk. What's the Drake and Brent record that the Neptunes produced? Wasting time. And I don't know how much we can really say because I fuck with Ty and them and I don't want to say too much shit we're not allowed to. The craziest part about that entire thing was not what that record made. It was that Universal bowed down to STEM. Brent was able to show that you can have leverage independently, that a major that was threatening to take that song down because Drake hadn't cleared it, quote unquote.
Oh, he did, but it was a market share thing, right?
But it wasn't for Universal's sake to make them feel good. That's what we don't really talk about, and I wish Brent did more interviews and Ty did more interviews because that's the win right there.
Huge.
An independent artist made a major bow down with the leverage that they had of saying, we're going to take this record down. No, the fuck you're not. You're not taking it down.
Hey, listen, I think it feels like the second coming of like the golden era or whatever for our generation. And I'm just really thankful to be at a place where, like, to me, it all feels like it's an even playing field and I understand it all, which that is the most exciting shit, is knowing, like, you know, we work on an artist called Child, obviously, together. And that felt really appropriate to be upstream to Tunji Latrice and the team because he has grandiose visions of how he wants to tour. And when you want to have a 9-piece or whatever, and you're like doing 500 tickets, then we need some support. And if you have an idea for a music video and you want to shoot it back in your hometown, Montreal, you probably need 70, 80, 90 bands. But for us, when it's really just like me, Brando, Val, Britt, you, like the internal team coming up with the creative, we're not burning cash on videos and we're trying to get music out and put on even cooler shows. Like, I'm not really stressing over some weirdo marketing budget that I got to pay back at 500%. I want to create something that's going to live longer than I am. And I think that's the key of this whole thing, is being able to help educate the next generation so that when they're making their decisions, at least they're looking around and being able to be a little more creative with how they structure their internal companies. Y'all can start, if you're an artist, you're 18, 19, 20, y'all can start an LLC with your art or creative director. Y'all can start one with your producer, with your manager. You want to make sure that they spend time on you. That's a really great way to do so. Y'all wonder why your manager has to go out and get 2 or 3 other clients and take a paying job at the label where it's like they're not making shit off you, and they're worried that just like their contemporaries, they might build you up and you might fire them. So I think it's a really healthy discussion to have. Like, if y'all really rock with each other for the long run, then build something together. Have ownership together. And that's just, to me, that's more sexy anyways. Like this weirdo shit of like building some shit with somebody and then, oh, but I've always been the artist. I write the no. It takes a motherfucking village to get your vision out there.
That's a fact.
So treat people that, yo, if you were on the other side of that, would you be okay with it?
Mhm.
I highly doubt it.
Talk about the situation with Frank Ocean and what he did a few years ago with his album and how, because that to me is still some of the most phenomenal shit.
You was talking about David Blaine. That was some fucking magic.
Like talk about
He
that.
got out of his deal better than anyone I've ever seen in my life.
How was Frank Ocean able to do that?
It's wild you bring that up. I was looking into that shit because, I think he's going to be playing a festival that we're all really excited about next year, and we were on that same billing. I wish we would have played that day, but that was some real magician shit for sure. Putting the record out, because at the end of the day, it's a recording, right? It's like you put out 50 minutes of music as a visual, and then 24 hours later, put his shit out indie through STEM. Shout out Milana. Shout out the whole team. I think that's a prime example of being able to do things on your own terms, incentivizing the people appropriately, but also paying your dues.
Do you feel, as someone that puts out a lot of music, do you judge artists like Frank that are on a schedule of once every 5 years we might see them? Because I think the music business has changed. To be relevant and respected to some degree, you have to put out a lot of music. Like, I love what Nas is doing because he's still proving he's one of the best because he can put volume out. We're in a volume world as far as music goes. You can't do I put an album out, I disappear for 5 years, and then I come back. It's a different game. As someone that puts out a shit ton of music, do you look at Frank, or shit, even SZA's coming out this week? It's been another 5 years, I think, SZA.
Right.
Do you think that takes away as how you view them as artists because they take so much time to put music out?
I think it's just to each their own with that shit. Like if you have to go through, if you're really writing your records, and obviously Nas is writing all his shit, but Nas had time to, I want to say he's probably 50, right? 51?
Yeah.
So, and that's like, my favorite, writer of all time.
Nas?
Yeah.
Okay, dope.
Okay, 50. And yeah, to each their own. I think Nas is obviously, like, him and Hit are on some different, I've never seen something like this. We were having the conversation because, like, from a mind perspective, from like from an entrepreneurial perspective, I felt like him and Hove are neck and neck. And in the past 3 years have been something just otherworldly with him and Hit. And
yeah, what they've been able to do is, I mean, at 49, 50 years old, for him to, be putting out this amount of, and then the knock on him for all the years was his production was terrible.
Which I hate that, but
this is dope.
I think it's truth, bro. I think for a long time, No Knock to Preem, like, look, since 2000,
he didn't work with Preem that much.
I think he has about half a dozen records with Preem, and they're all pretty great.
New York State of Mind, Nas is like, what other Preem records do you have?
I mean, let's pull up Life's a Bitch. There was a couple
Preem.
There was a couple Preem records on there. I'm saying he's had Lucy's the entire time. Maybe not albums like you're saying, but to Maul's point, having a consistent producer with one united perspective in Hit, and someone who's of our generation, I think Hit's probably a year or two older than me.
And that's but it's funny because that's what rap used to be.
Exactly.
One producer, you being with one producer.
Matter of fact, Illmatic changed that.
Yeah.
Illmatic was the album where he grabbed a bunch of producers, and I don't know, maybe I'm just defending Nas in that I think that's become a stereotype that has been embellished a bit. That Nas just picks awful beats all the time. Because I could go through his whole discography and
I don't think he picks awful beats at all. I'm just saying I think this is the best or the most consistent run he's had of great production through and through, concepts on steroids.
Absolutely.
The art, everything
not
feels...
overthinking. He's not overthinking shit.
Wait, let's look at this run real quick at the past 3 years. He did King's Disease, August 21 of 2020. Number 2, about a year later, August 6th. Magic that same year, 3.5 months later, December 24th. And King's Disease a year later, number 2, on November 11th. In 3.5 years, he did 4 of my favorite projects of his.
Yeah.
Outside of It Was Written and Illmatic, I will put these 4 in the top 6, 7.
I'm with you.
I mean, obviously, you can talk about Stillmatic being in that combo, but once again, those, to me...
Life is Good is up there for me, too.
Hell no.
Nowhere near King's Disease trilogy.
No way.
Well, all right, one album versus 3 is unfair.
No, I'm saying pick any one of them.
Hey, any one of them. And like, I love Lost Tapes. So we're not calling that an album for the sake of this conversation.
Of course,
because
yeah,
Lost Tapes is top 5, top 6 to me.
I agree.
Still.
I agree with you. I would put Life
There
is
it
Good
is.
over King's Disease 1.
Nah.
I would.
Can we see what's on Life is Good real quick?
Life is Good was 444 before 444.
Don't say
It's
that.
the first mature
Yeah, but that
how
no
hip hop
way,
can
no way.
age
I get what you're saying.
album
I understand what you're saying.
ever. Like, are you kidding me? This
Queen Story's great.
no
Locomotive
introductions
was
is
solid.
insane. Accident Murders is nuts. Daughters is amazing. Reach Out is a skip. World's Addiction I
Nah,
like. Summer on Smash is a skip.
Nah.
Not better than King's Disease.
No way. I can't do it.
Nah.
Cherry Wine was great, but that was from 2006. He repurposed vocals.
Stay isn't. There's not one song on King's Disease 1 that's better than Stay.
I love Say.
Shout out to Salam Remy all over that one.
And No ID.
Life is Good
idea.
is to me personally a classic album. And I know I said 2 skips in there, but
Oh
it's still
shit,
a
Nas
classic.
is on here too? Okay, I didn't realize that.
Bye Baby. Are you
Roses
the
is
Dawn?
dope too.
Like, come on.
No, I don't know if it's a classic,
Bye
but
Baby is hard.
at least for Nas, like it's a classic and for anybody else's discography, but
It's
For
a
Nas.
classic, and I think this was the first album for us to watch hip hop age.
that's a good point.
It's a mature album. It's not some older rapper looking corny trying to keep
Yeah,
up
he
with
was
the
going through
times.
his divorce.
It
I
was
get
it was the first time we saw a grown ass man rap album in this genre history.
So I think when
That was
when you compare it
popularized.
to 444, my only issue is 444 felt a bit more concise.
444 is better.
And I
Don't get me
think
wrong.
No ID produced the majority
He did,
of
the whole
it,
thing.
the whole thing. So it had a more clear perspective to me,
Mhm.
and I connected to it a little more. But
I know we read the lyrics of your song. Yes, we know you.
oh man, oh Lord have mercy.
No, I think 444 is better, but I don't know if you get a 444 the same way without Nas doing Life is Good.
That's fair.
That's
Yep.
all I'm saying. Because
I get what you mean.
444 is there's not a skip. It's 10
album
flawless. It's
is-
10 flawless records.
This album does not get enough credit, man. I feel like this
Yeah.
shit changed hip hop in the 2014?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 2017.
That was
I don't know.
2017 for sure.
2017.
Oh, okay. Oh damn, this shit feels like yesterday. Fuck.
5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, this album, I'm with you. This album doesn't get talked about enough. I know a lot of people were saying it was they didn't like the way it was mixed.
Shut
That
up.
and the third. I mean, that was the thing. That was the thing when it first came out. People was like, "Oh, it was mixed." It sounded like they just got a rough mix on it. They didn't like. I don't. People just find any reason to pick shit apart. But this album is one of those albums I feel like that we don't talk about enough in hip hop classics, and they'll kill us because we think everything Jay does is a classic. But this is a really, really solid album, top to bottom.
I have it number 4 in his discography.
I was gonna say it's number 5 for me.
I
Yep.
put it over Volume 2 now.
Oh wow.
Ooh, Hard Knock
I'm not
Life?
jumping out the window. No way.
I
What's number 3 for you? Black?
I rotate between Blueprint and Black Album switch.
Yeah.
Reasonable Doubt's my favorite. Blueprint and Black Album switch.
This is
but
4th?
Yeah.
I think I
it
put
over
volume
2.
1 over this too. I
I would
think
put Volume
volume 1 might catch.
In my lifetime?
American Gangster might be over Volume 2 at this point for me, as far as how it aged. Personally, like my personal preference.
You guys are from New York. It's a little different for y'all.
Yeah.
I just think what Volume 2 did for him alone just sets
it's,
it
I
apart.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
superstar, but
Yeah.
Also, can we talk about
The
Blueprint 2?
production.
If Blueprint 2 got cut down into one album,
Oh, man.
no, we
that's
shit-
that's a
all the
top
time.
5.
we shit on
Okay.
Guru
All
to
the
his
time.
face about this
Yeah,
all the time.
all the
'cause He
time.
said you have to do a double album now.
Yeah. All the time we say that. We're like, yo, if you just condense that Blueprint 2
Classic.
to 1, oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
All right. Well, since we're talking about modern shit, I guess, where do you think R&B has gotten a lot of slack lately? Even though I think R&B is probably in one of its better places
Yeah,
ever.
than it's been in the past 20 years.
Yeah. How do you feel about?
Not according to Diddy, but
well,
yeah.
I'm not even talking about when Puff said about that. I'm talking about more of like maybe the real R&B purists that are involved with it right now. Because I don't think Puff is involved in R&B right now. So I don't think he's even allowed to talk about it. To be quite honest,
He has a number 1 song.
that's not an R&B song.
Oh.
Yes, it is.
That
Yes, it
Bryson
is.
Tiller, and
Yes, it is.
that's a pop song.
Those are R&B drums. It's an R&B top line. There's basically no bass, but yeah, it's
It's a pop song, bro.
all right because it popped off, so it's a pop song, sure. But
no, it's
to
a
me,
pop song.
So pre
Even
Diddy
if it
taking
didn't
that,
pop off, it would be a pop song.
pre Diddy taking that, That was an R&B record.
Well, anyway, more so the people that are involved in R&B and are into the. Thank you, Eden, for telling us the time.
In Spanish next time.
Take your birth control. What do you think about the whisper singers? Because that's been one
Look, I'm gonna be real with you. I think
critique of R&B now that I can listen to someone's debate on that. I like the whisper singers, but there are some purists that still champion R&B, but think the whisper singers are killing it.
I think as someone who, like, personally myself, who, like, I'm not a singer by nature. I'm a writer. I'm a producer, and I have a good tone that I understand where it sits in the record.
Mhm.
I feel like how you choose to bring that to life, how you choose to articulate that, is totally up to you. But at the same time, I'm one of those. I don't love the bigger voices. Pause. Like, it's just not really my speed, and I think it's just all about taste at the end of the day. I mean, I think of my favorite records of the year. When you talk about, Wasteland, you talk about Steve Shit, Gemini Rights, Lucky, Candy Drip. I would say he's probably the biggest voice.
Sabrina Claudio.
I wouldn't put her in the big voice category, but
No, I was saying
talking
Lucky. I'm saying Lucky is probably the biggest voice that I fuck with. But yeah, I really like Blast, Black,
Blast was dope.
Frank. I mean, you're going through this list, and I'm just like, I think everyone on here, for the most part, outside of Abel and Mary, probably fall into this category. I mean, Twigs falls into this category. Amber falls into this category. What else we got?
well, no, I think there's a middle. There's like the whisper, and then
I love
the real
Ombre's album
singers.
too,
Like I
3000.
think Amber
Dope.
Mark falls in like the middle ground. I don't think she's a whisper singer, but I also don't think she's the big voice either.
Right.
So
I also have a partner who can, like, sing. You know, Val can sing all these people under the table. So it is a little more of like the duality for us. And I've realized that, like, the fact that I'm writing my parts or writing, you know, on this shit is like helping the dudes that are, or the girls that are coming to the show that don't sing.
Yeah.
I stay within the 4 to 5 notes. Whereas, like, if you're out here just like singing somebody's face off all song long, I don't like feeling like I'm being yelled at.
Mm-hmm.
So
it can
it's
get
just-
overwhelming.
it's not sexy. I love Smino's album. I think he's a singer.
Oh,
He doesn't get enough credit.
Probably my favorite album of the year,
Yeah.
outside of
It's-
Juice Volume 3. I promise.
Hey, I'm not.
Out on
no,
Friday.
I would
Get
say, did Brent shit come out? Yeah, it did come out this year. I would say
Yeah.
Brent shit is top 3.
Yeah.
Steve for sure. I love Beyonce's album. I felt like it was more of a dance record than an R&B record.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
definitely dance album.
Um,
Yo, Givion's album.
Giveon, yeah.
Why don't no one really talks about it?
Chris
Am I
Brown-
bugging to think that
Chris Brown came out this year too.
Chris
Greasy
is
came out this
amazing.
year.
the Giveon album's good, man. It just doesn't get talked the way I thought it would.
How do you feel about Honestly Nevermind, the Drake project?
Like I said, I'm Iranian, so, like, for me, all the more, like, you know, dance and rhythmic grooves really speak to me.
Mhm.
And I grew up, a lot of my cousins are, like, you know, half German, half French, half Swedish and shit like that. So I've gone to Europe a lot growing up. So it made a lot of sense to me. I think it's dope.
I love that album.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Greece this summer, and that's kind of all I heard out. And I don't know why he got so much slack. What y'all expect? He made fucking One Dance.
Right.
Let him. Also, how many people on this list can go and do that and have it feel seamless?
Nobody.
I don't get the hate. I think it's corny.
People, I don't know. They keep saying they want Drake to rap. I mean, he does rap, but I mean, he's obviously, like you said, One Dance. He's given us glimpses and songs that shows that he can make those type of records. And then I think he just decided to give us a whole project of it and have fun with it. And then, you know, I mean, I thought the album was great. And like you said, the fact that he's able to even make an album like that and not sound like he's forcing it or it doesn't sound weird, it just speaks to the caliber of the artist that he is.
Where do we rank? Where do we rank 40? In
He's up there.
2022. If we look through the discography that 40's done,
From a producer's perspective, or like a beat, like, what is it?
Just a producer?
producer, and because he EPs for the most part, all of these. No,
Mm-hmm.
even if he doesn't produce
Absolutely.
everything, 40 is the one that touches and arranges.
I mean, the
pretty much
sound.
everything.
Yeah.
This motherfucker, that's his sound.
Mm-hmm.
I would say he's the alpha to me
Yeah.
in terms of, for our generation, the past decade. You can put, Ali in the conversation for sure with other Kendrick and TDE shit.
Mm-hmm.
But from a sonic architect standpoint, I think that Toronto shit is kind of bled into the globe
Mm-hmm.
between him and Wonder, T minus.
Mm-hmm.
They're incredible.
Because if you go through timestamp records that we love, to One Dance, to Honestly Nevermind, is there another producer that has that type of range?
This is a really good question for you. How many records of 40 I will argue he did one or none on this latest Honestly Nevermind, but his fingerprints are all over it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Even if he's not the direct producer, I think he
produced 2 of them.
Produced 2 of them. Okay, so usually that's what, not even, that's like 15%. Usually this motherfucker has done 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so no, all right. 40 only did 2 records on Honestly Nevermind, but 40's the type. The amount of hats that he wears, from an engineer to an executive producer to how he arranges all of Drake's shit. To me, he produced on every last one of these records and every single Drake song. Period.
Agreed.
Because I think people get that fucked up. Like, all right, 40 didn't make the beat on this, but 40 produced this fucking record. So I think he's probably, if not the number one producer of the last 20 years.
20, I would say he who shall not be named, but 10, 40.
What was 20 years ago? 2012?
10 years ago, 20 years ago, 20 years ago was
2002.
Kanye West.
Okay.
That's who would sit in my number one. Him or Pharrell.
Production wise, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or Tim even. I mean, look, or Dre. I mean, we're coming out of like Chronic era. We're coming out of Missy, Genuine, Tim, Basement era,
Yeah.
Virginia shit. We're coming out of a lot in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
2010 on, I think 40 is the best producer in music. I'm not saying hip hop, in music.
From 2010 until now?
I think 40 is the best producer.
I mean, Drake is
I think
probably
a lot of the
best
stuff
artist
that he got, which we
in
can
the last 12 years. So
we can bring up Kanye. I think a lot of 40 sound does come from 808s and Heartbreaks, but the way 40
His
is
perspective
elevated
is completely different though.
I agree. I'm saying the way he took some of that moodier sounds and some of that like 80s fucking shit, he took to another place. So to me personally, I don't think 40's ever talked about the way he should be talked about. The way we talk about Kanye, I think 40 is in that conversation producer-wise. I do.
I would say my favorite producer of the past 10 years is a guy called Dante Jones of They. Because I think to me, production is centered around perspective
mm-hmm.
and how you're kind of just helping produce a trajectory, a career, as opposed to a beat. And, when you grow up on shit like Devontae Swing, and you grow up on Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and you grow up on these true producers.
Real producers.
He is and obviously he's like one of my best friends. So I'm lucky enough to I've learned kind of under his tutelage, whether it was helping sign the They Boys or working with him on some of my EO shit or working with him on some of your shit. I think 40, obviously, in terms of what he's done, can't be discounted. But if we're talking about my favorite producer of the 2010s, I would put him in the conversation. I think Hit has to be in the combo now.
Hit is definitely in the conversation.
he's
Now.
definitely in the combo.
Hit to me is the most versatile producer probably in
Past
rap
5-7 years.
history.
Where do y'all put Travis as a producer? And can you explain better to I guess regular fans the difference between like a beat maker and a producer?
Yeah, I think and it doesn't take away from them, but a lot of people send out packs. But to me, a producer is, a creative that sees a vision for an artist or a song, and they produce the environment that they're coming to write into. Whether it's they know, well, shit, that candle and that meal are really important to that artist. That gets them in the right headspace. Whether they know, I could play keys or I could play such and such, but I know a better keys player and I know a better guitar player. And I'm going to create this room that is going to bring the best out of you and the best out of me. That's like, in short, what I consider to be a producer versus a beat maker. I personally haven't played keys or guitar or bass on any of the Emotional Oranges songs, but I'd say on like 85 to 90% of them, whether it was us flipping a sample that I found by sending it to my guitar player, whether it's
Shout out
coming up with
Mitch.
the drum loop. Yeah, shout out to Mitch, coming up with the drum loop that I wanted to build out with Tay or with Yanni, or going A to Z on the musicians that I brought in and writing the music for them to go and reference when they're adding parts.
Mhm.
That to me is producing a record, which is why I don't like when people throw shade at Khaled or Puff if they don't have context to whatever record it was.
Yeah.
I've never taken a record outside. So like a lot of people will take a song that was sent to them. And once again, there's no knock to that. If you're a performer, if you're an incredible vocalist, but you don't feel like you have enough to write about at that point, well, take a outside song. But for me, I've never done that. And I admire producers that are building artists from scratch, which is why 40, to me, if he's not the one, he's probably the 1A of the past 10 to 15 years, because he took an artist that nobody knew about, nobody cared about, probably counted out quite a bit, and took him all the way to the finish line and more.
Literally created a sound.
You got to put D-Mile in that conversation over the past 5 years as well.
I'm with you.
I'm looking at this list y'all got on the board. I mean, when I'm thinking about these artists, who's in the conversation? Yeah.
Drum wise, R&B last 5 years, Cardiac, I would have to put
Cardiac is
there,
dope.
specifically with drums. I think a lot
Shouts
of people
to Cardiac.
starting to bite. I hear a lot of records now that I could tell people listen to what Cardiac does in R&B and bites everything that he's doing.
Absolutely.
Because EO is so in-house, do you think you ever toy the idea of getting in with other producers?
I think making music, just writing in general, is such an intimate process that I'd have to have some kind of like relationship with someone else. I am cool with D-Mile and I do look up to him in a lot of ways. I think that'd be really dope and would make a lot of sense. But like I said, like one of my best friends is my favorite producer of all time, arguably, Dante Jones. And I think Yanni from Child is another incredible producer. So why would I look outside for what I feel like I already have helped cultivate within? It just seems corny to me. Look, a lot of people, wait their whole lives and they're like, well, when I get here, I'm going to go and get such manager. I'm going to get such art director. I feel like, my best friends, Branda, who does all the art and creative for us, you and Britt, and Dante, Yanni, and then Valley as a singing and writing part. These are, to me, this is the final level. I'm not like, this shit doesn't turn me on. Like, I feel like y'all can put me neck and neck with any of these people and let's look back in 10 years and see what time it is. Like, that's the shit I'm on.
Yeah.
And I'd rather build with people that I've felt like, I don't know, maybe I'm nuts. Maybe I'm not seeing something that's making these projects be more quote unquote successful, but like, I don't find myself enjoying sessions. I've done the session thing and I think it feels like speed dating. It's just lame as shit.
Yeah.
Like what am I supposed to, I don't even know. I don't like you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to dinner with you. Why am I going to write a song with you?
And it's hard to write a song with someone like you're trying to get to know, like at the same time. It's a very
that's why
interesting
that's why I've told Britt, and obviously Britt and my publishers, Jeremy over at Concord, have been super respectful for signing the level of deal that I signed. They should have been trying to horn me out to get in as many writing sessions as possible, but they've all really respected the process.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen tomorrow for me or for us, but they've at least bought into the vision as a whole. And that's why I'm never turning my back on no one that I built this shit with. Because even people like, I look at Lucky on this list and I'm like, I first heard about Lucky Day as a songwriter in the early 2010s. Stop running this shit that he popped off overnight. That man has put his work in.
Absolutely.
He's fucking incredible. And a lot of these people too on this list, bro. Like, I don't know. It's Lancey Foe's amazing. What, by the way, what is this list? Where did you get this from?
This is R&B
His
albums.
best R&B albums of
2022.
2022.
Yeah.
According
All right,
to Google.
Hey, Trent, you better. This is the hip hop DX shit. Well, Trent, you better add us, bro, when this shit drop.
Is this hip hop? I just think it's like a general
The releases.
release
Oh, just what they
over
put
the
out.
year.
I love Shy Girl too, but I don't think she's making R&B. It's more like electronic shit. Sudan Archives is incredible too.
Well, I mean, I think even to your point, not to bring Drake and 40 back up, but I saw them talk about Thank Me Later and how much they don't care for that album because Drake finally made it and they had the opportunity to work with every major producer and feature that they could come up with, and they hated it. They're like, that's not our best album because we were finally like, all right, we get to work with Alicia, The Dream, Jeezy, like, and of course we all love them, but sometimes that's not the best recipe for you as an artist. when you have access to everybody. Sometimes the in-house team is
That's a
what
great
really
point.
works.
But if you're 23 and they gave you $2 million,
I'm fucking
you're coming
hitting
up under Wayne, Carter 3.
Yeah, I'm hitting T.I. and
then-
Swizz Beats
yeah.
immediately.
By the way, if they hit me now in my early 30s,
Yeah.
I look up to Jeff Basker.
Mhm.
You know, obviously I know Matt and Jordan. I didn't know they worked on Up All Night. That's dope. Yeah, Kanye is on here. Francis from Francis and the Lights is incredible.
So good.
What
What have they been doing lately?
I have no idea, but one of my favorite mixing, just like the prismizer that he came up with, which is
Yeah.
basically like it's like harmonizing from a vocal perspective, and he ran it through from a MIDI, and started kind of creating tracks out of it. Like he's on some shit. Yeah, the Chance the Rapper record. Man, I had
Just
this
about to
dance.
say, yeah.
Yep.
I thought them and Chance were gonna do the whole project together. Was
That
the
would've
last
been
time I
crazy.
heard Francis and the Lights, and I know Ye was fucking with them
That
for a
Friends
while.
record.
But if you were 23
Mm-hmm.
and
Of course.
your whole shit, you looked up to T.I.
You have to.
You have
Oh,
to.
no, that-
Yay, Hove.
Of course. But I did like that perspective years later when Drake and 40 were like, yeah, we're not mad that we did that, but it wasn't what worked out best for us. It's at the bottom, in their opinion, of
Yeah.
his catalog.
of all of
And you
our
understand
opinions.
why.
Yeah.
I understand why. I get it. Like internally, just knowing what they really want to do, what they really work on. That was just that they had to make that type of album. They had to make that. They had to stand next to those names. Drake had to be next to those artists on his album. I get it. But ultimately, I think where they at now is this is what the shit that they really want to do now.
100%.
All right, we can pivot again because I don't want to get too much more in personal stuff. I do want to go back to our first conversation and ask you about your breakup again, but I'll leave that one alone. Since you've been on the road for a while, have you ran into a lot of you are Iranian?
Iranian.
All right. Did I not? I'm from New York. That's how we say it.
Iranian.
Insensitive.
Come on,
You're saying
Rory.
it wrong.
Damn.
I'm definitely going to
Wow.
correct Rory. I have to correct
Let's go,
Rory.
let's get-
Come on.
Iranian.
There's not a lot of artists, at least in our genre demographic, where Iranian artists are seen.
Mm-hmm.
Have you run into people within your culture that are happy that the type of current music they finally have a face that they can see and feel like they're represented?
I'm really glad you asked. It's a big reason why I even wanted to come and chop it up with y'all. Is like just growing up, there wasn't that that person for me that I could look up to that was like making soulful records, whether it was hip hop or R&B shit, that I could point to and be like, let me try to reverse engineer this and look up. I can't explain it because when you grow up in this household where like Farsi is your first language. And your parents, they're separated, but they've never seen anything quote unquote good monetarily, success wise come out of the arts. It's challenging as shit not to like go down the path that every other Middle Eastern family is encouraging their kids to do, which is typically like be a doctor,
Yeah.
be an engineer, be a lawyer, which is nothing wrong with that. We need way less artists and way more doctors. Y'all, if y'all are trash, put your shit down. Stop it. No, I'm kidding.
I've met a few trash doctors though.
Oh, that part. But that's also the system. That's a whole different thing. I'm not getting into that. Look, what I'll say is I see a whole lot of the Middle Eastern population showing up. Even when we were in Australia, I saw like 8 women in hijabs. Some of them were Moroccan, some of them were Somali, some of them Ethiopian. And I'm personally not Muslim, but my grandparents were Muslim. And I think it's really important to have someone that you connect with in this space for you to be able to point to it and be like, well, if he can do it and he's mediocre, I can definitely do it.
Do you feel like you have any? I guess that's funny. Yeah, if that guy can do it,
If he can do it, 2-stepping and singing his 5-note bullshit, I can definitely do it. You know?
let
I can
Valley
make
dance
it.
and I'll just be in the
I
back.
can make it.
Do you feel like though now there is any responsibility? Are you nervous about that? Where like maybe you just want to make songs rather than be the face of probably a less represented culture within R&B? Is there some type of pressure where you feel like I have to be that guy now? I have to focus on making sure I'm representing our culture the best way I can rather than, hey, I just want to make good music and don't want to be identified as the face of this culture.
I mean, luckily, I don't think we've done much. And I'm still kind of writing or helping write our history. But I decided, I feel like probably in March when we got that drop letter,
Yeah.
that I wanted to just help educate the youth more, not only on you could do this shit no matter where you're from, who you are, but even from the independent perspective, because I didn't feel like they would, even if you know somebody that's an independent artist, most of the time they don't know what the fuck's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, those are two things that over the next 5 years I want to dedicate real time to, is like helping give more opportunity to people that look and, you know, whatever, look like me and come from where I come from, but also want to take maybe a different approach, a non-traditional approach to building their business and releasing their music.
Yeah.
And yeah, shout out to my mom. I feel like, you know, looking back, I'm really grateful that I had, you know, my dad's a poet, he's a writer, and him and my mom split up when I was 2, but my mom took me to piano classes for 5 years and then violin classes for another 4, and really encouraged the arts early on. And even though we grew up Section 8 type shit, like they've had really difficult lives, they gave me the tools that I needed and never fucking, if anything, I think they put the battery in my back to go and pursue the creative shit. Whereas most people I know that were in my shoes, whether they grew up poor, middle class, rich, I think they were just shunned by their families if they decided they wanted to go down, even pursuing sports. Like, how many Iranians do you know in the league right now, bro? Like, I'm a fucking NBA fanatic. I can't name any.
Yeah.
That's a problem. So I think culturally, like, that shit is, even designers, I know Melody's killing it right now. I just want to see more representation in the arts in general. So I want to try to lead by example, and sure, it's a big responsibility, but we ain't shit yet. So I got a lot of work to do. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Oh, don't say that. You guys have been all right. You just did Coachella. You know?
Yeah, you've been doing some shit, bro. You got a lot of shit done out here.
What was the first moment that your family was like, oh, all right, I get it? What was one of those?
When your mom stopped telling you to get a job.
Yeah. It's like, oh wait, this could work?
Yeah.
She
Coachella.
I'm gonna give her more credit than that. She came to see me. We sold out the El Rey, which is where I saw Frank in 2012. We sold out the El Rey like on the on sale, right?
Yeah.
It was like day 1 or some shit, and she came, and there was like, it wasn't like some weirdo industry shit that usually the first shows are. It was like 800 fans, and we had announced the show with 4 songs out. I think she was in tears, but second off, she was like, how?
It was day of. I don't even think.
Right.
Didn't we announce the day of?
It was 2019. I have no idea. It was so long ago.
Yeah.
And my dad came to San Francisco. He's been with this girl for 20 years. Her name's Wendy, and she brought him. And, you know, my dad's blind, and she escorted my dad backstage, and he was like, he's an incredible writer, an incredible poet. So he's done readings, but he's never been to a concert for me like that.
Yeah.
So we walked him upstairs, and he was just like hysterical, kind of like just in tears, being like, they all came for you, you know, like how? And he's like, he's like, you did it. He's like, this is the dream. And had to kind of shake me a little bit and be like, you know, I know you're in your head like it didn't happen for you when you were 23, but I think at the time we did Great American Music Hall, I was probably like 29, 30. And I'd felt like it was hard to step into my power. It was just like, I think just in general, it's just hard to be like, you know how it is. I mean, you guys are kind of the same. Like, we don't want to fucking.
Yeah, no. That's why I'm relating to everything you're saying. Like, when you feel a moment where it's like, oh shit, it's happening, and you see it, and the people are, you know, giving you so much love and support, and then your family is kind of like, okay, everything that he was chasing and said he wanted to do, he's doing it. It's happening. We're here. We're supporting, and it's, you know, family's crying. Everybody's just happy to see that you finally are doing what you set out to do. I'd
be mad at my family.
That is a Rory
fucking
thing.
10 years of like, what is he doing over there? And
Rory,
now,
like, I fucking told you, Mom.
Now they love it.
Now they rave about you
Yo.
at work, right?
Rest in peace to my grandparents at the Chicago show, Emotional Oranges. My grandma was like, I think Rory's doing like a Broadway play in Chicago. I'm like,
They were
where did
so
you even
sweet.
get that from?
Metro Theater
Nowhere near
2019. They were so fucking sweet, man.
They
Rest in
walked up
peace.
like fucking how many flights of steps, and the whole time like, I think it's a Broadway play. I'm like, Grandma,
There's nothing to do with
There's
Broadway.
nothing to do with that.
They just see a stage in a theater.
Yeah, they just
They're like,
assume
oh, it
that.
must be he's on Broadway. No, Mom, this is nothing like Broadway. We're not doing that. I saw your show, the last Emotional Orange show in LA at the Nova, I believe.
Yes, sir.
That was a great show.
And a great show. And I told Rory, I was like, I got to come to some more of these live shows. And then I caught y'all here in New York at Webster Hall. And the crowd is just a different type of crowd, different vibe. It's like everybody it's like a community.
Yeah, man.
Everybody's on the same wave, the same drugs, the same. It's
The,
just
the
like,
drug of emotion.
Yeah, it's just like everybody's on the same shit, but it's women, it's guys, it's different cultures. How does that make you feel looking out to an audience and seeing your music and your words touch so many people from different parts of the world?
First off, I'm just super fucking grateful. There was a 12-year-old at our show, and there was their 52-year-old dad.
Oh, we
When
beat
we
you.
were
We had a 3-week-old at our show. We beat you out on that one.
Yeah,
3 weeks
God.
old.
We had an actual
Fresh
infant
out the
at our
womb.
That's so
show in
fire.
DC.
Fresh out the-
I
literally.
wish Britt would have brought Dawson when she
Right?
came to LA. We would have beat y'all by a week. Nah, man. I think, like I said, I'm trying to accept those, like the love and the flowers a little more because I feel like it's a bit fleeting, and it's ill. I never thought we helped cultivate such like a dope, diverse community where, yeah, it just feels like high school again, except not with the toxic shit. Like everyone, like
Yeah.
all different walks of life are kind of chilling at the, kind of in that circle together, and no one's judging each other. We have all type of different, whether it's, lesbian, gay, old, young, brown, white, black, everything. And
Julian.
Yeah.
He's all those things.
he's
Yeah.
Lebanese and black, so he kind of falls into that mix perfectly.
And fluid.
And fluid. Okay. All right.
Yeah, they call me sexual and gender fluid.
They're racially ambiguous.
He's sexually ambiguous in the
Yeah,
face.
there you go.
Very
Y'all
supportive
out of
team.
control.
Incredible
No, the
support.
progressive point you were making, I'm sorry.
No, it's love. I think, look, at the end of the day, this shit feels like when we used to go to like house parties in the early 2000s, and that was intentional. And I want that shit to keep. I want to
Definitely house party energy.
Yeah.
It's that vibe.
And what I learned from the first show you guys ever did in Toronto was that the single is the least important part of a show. Remember when Corners of My Mind went off, and
Crazy.
after the show we were like, wait, we didn't know that was the song that everyone fucking ran right to.
Also,
and EO has been, I feel like, a masterclass in B-sides when it comes to live shows.
And I have to be really clear here. This is impossible without Valley. I could barely two-step to some of these fucking drum grooves. She's out here making my job incredibly easy. This is the best performer outside of Prince that I've seen live. And to have her as my partner and someone who kind of pushes the boundaries and helps empower me. Yeah, I got it easy.
She's dope.
She's unreal. And I wish people knew, I've cut so many vocalists in my life. I've written with so many people in my life. This shit feels like water. Like we get in the room and it comes out like Paul's like nothing else I've ever worked on. And when something's that easy, usually it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Like if y'all are that on that playing field and that kind of wavelength together, and so we pushed through some wild shit. Obviously, being signed to a major and not being able to put out shit for a year and a half was difficult, but like losing $250,000 on touring, all these things that like, she's like, nah, bro, like I believe in this wholeheartedly, and kind of has given her, her time and her life to this, just like Brittany has, like Brando has, like you, like a lot of people have. That's why I think we see the community that we do and they got the love that they got. It's not because somebody sat in a room and fucking masterminded some shit like Magneto, bro. It's like,
Yeah.
People put
Listen,
that
I
work
used to
in.
go to Valley's job when she was waitressing. Like, it's crazy to see the shit, her on stage at Coachella, and I'm like, I went to your job when you was a waitress. Like,
It's
yo,
dope.
this group is it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Val. I really love you, man. This is like, 4 years in the making, finally.
And you guys aren't fucking because that's what the world wants to know.
Absolutely not. It's one of my best friends.
Are people still on that? People still
Oh,
on
absolutely.
that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
My mom is still convinced.
Oh, man. Lord have mercy.
My mom was at Brooklyn Steel like, there's too much chemistry.
I think just because Val's, an incredibly beautiful, attractive woman all across the board, motherfuckers want to just,
Yeah.
I have no chance. Yeah.
Well, we know that. Fucking with you. Maul, you're good at closing these episodes out.
Well, Zah, listen, man, thank you for coming and kicking it with us for a few, man. We appreciate it. This was dope. I feel like I got to learn more about you. I hear so much about you from Rory. I love Emotional Oranges. I love what y'all are doing. I love the branding. I love the, everything y'all doing, the candles, it's just fly shit. It's just, it's a certain level of taste, a certain level of class that y'all are moving with your brand. And shout out to you, shout out to Val and everybody with the Emotional Oranges team, Avant team. And this weekend, man, I'm looking forward to the project. New vibes.
December 9th.
Yes.
December
Juice
9th.
Volume 3.
Juice Volume 3.
We're independent in this bitch.
Juice Volume 3. Support independent, support art, support great people, support good energy, man.
And quickly, Brando's the one that actually keeps us all related, if you think about it.
Brando is
Between St. John, Biggs,
Brando is
Maul,
the mastermind
EO and St. John are
behind
all
some of the-
related because of Brando.
behind some of the dopest merch images that we've seen in the last few years.
The
man.
best
I'm
in the
not gonna
game.
lie. Absolutely. Without a
That's,
doubt.
that's the best creative mind in the game.
Absolutely.
Fuck what you heard. I've been
Huge
saying
fan of
that since
Brando's.
2013.
Huge fan.
And suck my dick if you disagree.
I was actually happy to meet you at the Novo at the show at the Novo when I heard so much about you from Biggs and from St. John, and then you was this cool laid back guy. I'm like, wait, don't sit here like you would design some of my favorite pieces that I wear every fucking day. Like,
And then I started resenting Brando because you would walk into the pod with all these St. John sweatpants. I'm like, I know the guy that designed it. I just can't get them for some reason.
no, Brando's amazing.
Oh,
Shout out to
I know
Brando,
Carlos
man.
and Breno really well. I don't have no St. John shit outside of what he gave me
How?
4 years ago. Probably because
I
I
have
don't
the
ask,
Christian Sex
but-
Club socks. That's the only thing I have.
Probably because I don't ask, but yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Brando. So yeah, Zod, man, thank you for coming by, kicking with us.
Peace,
we
bro.
appreciate you, brother. And I can't wait to see y'all on stage again soon, man.
Love. Thank you guys for having me.
I'm that
Appreciate
nigga. He's just ginger. Peace.
No